All right. Can you let me know if you can hear me? Right now, it's just me talking. I don't have any music on. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is mostly show how to program the Erica Synths Black sequencer. We're going to be putting some notes in there, and I'm going to walk through my process. Um, and what I'm doing is taking this music score, uh, and then just walking through and putting it onto different voices. So this isn't something I normally do. Usually I'm just picking notes and making chords based off of music theory. But every once in a while, especially for Christmas, I'll take a Christmas song and try to put it in the synth. The difficulty with this one is that this was written for band, and the some instruments are transposed. So the clarinet parts, the saxophone parts, their key signature is different. So I need to do some math. The clarinet, it really isn't that bad. It's just a whole step off, but it's something that you got to keep in mind. So I'm gonna go through this, and if you guys have any questions, throw it in the chat. And mostly what I've done is I've got the Erica Synth Black sequencer with 4 voices. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 4 gate outputs that correspond with those voices. I'm gonna see if I can clean this lens. Give me 1 second. That might be the best that we get. And it's hard to get in there with this camera, so hopefully that works out. Okay, so the Erica Synth has the ability, when you create a new song, to have multiple patterns. So right now, on pattern, I've got 7 programmed, and you can tell by the ones that have lights on them. So what I did in this case was take a look at the music, and I had to come up with how many notes I can fit in a pattern, and then break that up. So for example, the first pattern, I went to the direction and range setting on the black sequencer. Yeah, Stago. Right now, there's 7 patterns of 4 voices, but we're going to add to that. But yes, each pattern controls the 4 voices, or up to 4 if you want. So we go to the range, we can set the value from 1 to 64 steps per pattern. So, and you have to do that individually for each channel. So if we go to channel 1, right now it's set to 64 steps, channel 2, channel 3, and channel 4. And you set the steps by moving this knob here. And that's one thing that you have to be really careful on, because I'll forget sometimes, and I'll set notes on all the steps, and I'll play the pattern and I only hear the first 16 notes, and then everything else is blank, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? And that's because even though you set a note value on all 64 steps, if you don't lengthen it, it'll repeat the sequence to whatever this is set to. So now that we have all 4 channels set to 64 steps, we can then go in and set those notes. And the way that I'm doing that here is, let me see. I'm going to go back to this view. So on the sheet music, this worked out to 1 measure per page on the black sequencer. So I can have 4 pages. The black sequencer calls it bars. So bar 1 has 16 steps, bar 2 has 16 steps, bar 3 has 16 steps, and bar 4 has 16 steps, for the total of 64 steps. And each bar or page is going to relate to just 1 measure on here. So if we, and then the next thing I had to do is kind of decide, okay, looking at the sheet music, who's going to get each voice? This calls for a lot of different instruments. We've got flute, oboe, first clarinet, second clarinet, alto, tenor. Obviously I don't have the capacity to do all of that. So what I did was I looked at the ones that were different. A lot of times, especially with easier sheet music, some of the instruments are doubling up. You'll notice, the trombone and the tuba pretty much have the same notes. Trumpet 1 shares notes with trumpet 2. So I decided that I was going to do the flute for 1 voice, the clarinet for another voice, the trombone for 1 voice, and then I kind of switched around. Later on, the marimbas get some interesting notes, so I would pick them off, and then you've got your percussion at the bottom. So I have my flutes then are going to be channel 4, the clarinet channel 2, the saxophone parts on channel 3, and the trombone or tuba parts on channel 1. So let's go ahead and kind of pick up. Right now I've got 7 set, so I have to remember where I left off. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm just going to double check. I'm going to take a look at my notes here, and probably should have written down where I stopped, because now I am lost. Oh, here's all right, I realize what's happening. Here's another problem. So the black sequencer, if we look at the notes, let me switch back to that camera, and I'm going to try to get this so you can see it either. The problem is it's sitting on top of my mixer. And it's not going to focus, is it? I'll see if I can make this work. The problem is that when we go through the notes, and changing the notes is very easy. So if the light is on, that means that the note is active. If you want to mute it or turn off a step, you can just click it and it turns off. So if we click a note and we start changing it, you'll see that the screen changes and it shows the note value pretty large. This was kind of one of my concerns at the beginning, was that with that screen being so small, it might be hard to see, but it makes it really easy to change note values. The problem though is that right now I have it set to chromatic settings, and it starts with C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. It just shows the sharp value. It doesn't show you flats. So you have to kind of know that if you need E flat, you need to set it to D sharp. I'm not going to get into the technicality of that, whether being it's the same note or not, but for synths and the values here, that's the same note. The music is written in E flat minor, so it does get a little confusing. So right now I'm looking at a pattern of E flat, G, and I gotta pick up where that was on my music. Here we are. Okay. So I'm going to play this. We'll see what we get. Did you guys hear that? I didn't hear anything come through. Uh-oh. I don't have audio from this. So I gotta troubleshoot what's going on with my audio. 1 second. Nope, still nothing. test, test. Oh, there we go. Okay, can you guys hear me now? Okay. Sorry, having some audio problems. So, channel 4, we have the Nano Ona. And that's my flute part. So the notes are E flat, G, G, C, and E. So I have here, and since one measure is one page, the first page, we start off by going to page 1, and you can think of it then as this is beat 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I have quarter notes, then it's 1. This is one whole quarter note. Eighth notes, it's going to be buttons 1 and 3. And then sixteenths, if I have sixteenths notes, it'd be all 4. So that's one beat right here. On this beat, I'm going to do E flat, and then G are my eighth notes, and then I've got quarter, quarter, C and E. So here we get. Okay. So on channel 2, I'm going to have the clarinet part, same pattern, different notes. Okay, and we can mute, go back and forth. We press the mute button. Yeah, you can have multiple steps per beat. The way I have it laid out, it gives me the opportunity to do up to 16th notes per beat. You could divide that if you needed more, but the music that I'm transcribing thankfully doesn't have anything faster than an eighth note, so it made it a little easier to do. We have mute option, so if the square is white, then it's active, as well as the LED. If the LED is on, it's active. So what I do is usually I'll mute everything except the voice I'm working on, so then when I play it, I can hear it, make sure that it's programmed correctly. Then I'll switch to the next channel, enter those notes, then unmute it, play them together. Okay, then we have channel 3. Here, channel 3, I remember now. There wasn't the part that I was following was muted, so I didn't program anything. And then this is important too. So if you get to a part where you're gonna have rests, you don't want to think I'll just mute that channel. You actually want to go ahead and program in all of the empty rests. So if we go to channel 3 and we look across here, page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4, I actually deselected every single note, so it's muted. I do that instead of coming here to mute, because during a performance the song is going to be playing and you may not have time to specifically mute that section. So it's just easier to mute those specific notes. Technically, you have something on that channel, it's just not playing right now. And then channel 1, I have the bass. And this one is the Liquilic Iteratas. And I like this for my bass. It's a little dirty, but I have the switches here where I can change the algorithm it's using. So now we'll play them all together. Okay, so now that's just simply 4 measures. So let's work on making the next 4. What you'll do here is we're going to go to pattern, and you'll see number 8 does not have a light on, but as soon as you press that, it activates it. If we press CV to edit the notes, it automatically fills in the first 16 with a C0, and it does that on every channel. Now, here's a little trick that I like to do, is that let's go back to our pattern. The black sequencer has a copy and a paste function that I use a ton. So what we're going to do is, even though we're going to make a different pattern, I'm going to copy. So you hold copy and then you press the pattern. And then we're going to hold paste and press 8. That's where we want to paste it to. So it copied that entire pattern here. I do this a lot on the black sequencer when I'm creating a song. And I want to add a little bit of variation. I'll copy that. I'll start one pattern. I get something I like. I'll copy it. And then this way I can make a slight change to maybe just one of the voices. Not all of them. And you immediately can then switch back and forth during a performance to add a little bit of variation. And you don't have to do a lot of work because you've copied in all the notes already. So that's a really good step. But the reason I'm doing it here, so let me go to pattern 8, is that even though I'm not going to do the same notes, it's already kind of has them close by when I'm looking at the music score. So let me show you where I'm at right now. So in terms of the score, we just have these 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, and I'm going to pick up on this one here. So the flute section that I'm doing is relatively close to here. So instead of starting from C0 and having to dial all the way up, then I have the notes somewhat close to each other. Makes it just a little bit easier. Okay, so my first note is D, and then this measure, it has quarter notes, so that means only the first ones on the row, no other notes. So we'll turn that off. This first one is D. The second one is G, which we already have. Then we have C, which we're already there. And then we have D flat. Again, D flat will not show up on the sequencer. It's C sharp. Okay, so measure 1, flute done. Easy. So let's go to channel 2, which is the clarinet. And we have, again, only quarter notes, so we turn that off. It's just the first note here. And we have D, F, E flat, and E. Okay, so that's done. Voice 3 we're leaving blank. And in the bass, I have B flat, which is A sharp, C, and then D flat. C and D flat, which is C sharp. Okay, so that's one measure. Let's go ahead and just play it and see what it sounds like. Okay. So, we got to go to the next measure. Because I copied the previous pattern, it already has the 64 notes set up. If I didn't, what you have to do is you go to the channel, press direction, and move this to 64. Then you press channel 2, move it to 64. Channel 1, move it to 64. Channel 3, move it to 64. Get them all on your 64 note pattern. Then we're going to see what we just did. So now we're at flutes. So this one only has one note and then rests, and it's C. Clarinet, only the first note, and it's E flat. And then the tuba is C, and it's only that note. And then let me show you guys on this, on the sheet music. It's that first note, and then we have rests on beats 2, 3, and 4. And then we have almost a whole measure of rest. So we got to program in the rests. So page 3 is rests for everybody. Almost everybody. We actually have a note on the tuba line, which is D flat. Okay, and then since it's only one voice, I'm actually going to duplicate that on channel 3 and put a D flat here as well, just to give it a little more weight. And then the fourth page, which is the fourth bar, we have again nothing on the flute, nothing on the clarinet, the D flat resolves to a C. For my other instruments. So we just went through 4 bars on these. We're going to play them all together and see what it sounds like. I'm actually gonna, so we start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and I made a mistake. 1, 2, 3, that should be the note 4. So we gotta go back and fix it. I put that, so the C sharp here is on this spot, and C sharp here is on that spot. And then to save everything, you hold shift and press the blinking circle. So we hold shift, you'll see, and that saves it. Let's play it back. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay. So exciting stuff. And it's a bit of a slow process, but once you start getting the hang of it and you have your voices down, it gets a little easier. Let's do the drum patterns. So let me move the camera a bit and I'll show you how I'm doing my drums. All right, that's a little closer than I imagined. Let's see. Is that view okay? If you guys need me to move something, let me know. So what I have is I have the black sequencer is sending a clock out signal to the WMD Metron. The Metron also has 16 outputs of triggers, and you can do multiple pages. It matches up where one page on the Metron correlates with one page on the black sequencer. Let me try adjusting the light. Oh. That seems worse. Hold on. Let me dim that one. So while I'm trying to do that, so one page on the Metron is one page on the black sequencer. So that means I've got 16 steps. Every 4 is my quarter note, Every other one is my eighth, and I can do the same. I can have 16th notes per beat. I think that's the best I can make it with the lighting. It's a little simple on this one. I have a kick drum. I have open hat, and then I have little jingle bell sounds. So let's go back to the sheet music, and I'll show you guys what I was looking at here and how I translated that to the Metron. So there we go. On the bottom we have the percussion. We have here the bass drum. We have cymbal, and then the sleigh bells. So pretty simple. You just follow the pattern. So we have a bass drum on beats 1, 2, and 3. So on the Metron, that's lights 1, 2, and 3. And here there's also a really nice copy function as well. So you can set your page 1 and then the different channels. So 1 through 4 is up here, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16. And once you set it on one page, you can turn this to 4 pages and then hold duplicate to pattern length, and it will copy that pattern across the 4 pages. So really easy to set up. I'm going to mute my black sequencer, but I'll hit play, which will start the Metron. So right now it's looping just the very simple, the first four measures of the song. However, as you can imagine, it changes up a bit. So what I do here is I use the variation section of the Metron. So the Metron has, you can have 5 variations on one loaded pattern. Let me stop that. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can have in memory, you can have saved 64 different steps saved, step sequences. But I think it's a little confusing if you do it this way, because then you have to load those as the performance is going. So it's much easier to just use the variation. And to do a variation, you just press the next one. In this case, it's B. I'm going to press reset, which automatically loads it. It usually doesn't load until it gets to the end of the steps, but you can force it by pressing reset. So then if we play this one, we have a different pattern. And then I should have something on C too. So we'll look through that right now. And I know it's hard to see with which one's lit up. I'm going to try to change the angle of this. It's still hard to see which ones are lit. But my little sleigh bell sound, that's a sample that I have going to the 2 HP play. I can manually trigger it. The kick is from the Noise Engineering BIA, which is going to a Pittsburgh LPG. And then the hat is coming from the 2 HP hat, the open. And that's all I have. The sleigh bells are every other step, which is following the 8th note pattern. And we can speed that up here at the last page. So now if we play them all together, this is just 4 measures. So that's kind of the gist of it. I don't know if anybody has any more questions, but those 2 are the main brains behind all of this. The black sequencer is running my oscillators. I have the Zadar doing the envelopes, which are being triggered by the black sequencer. And then everything's going into some sort of filter, sub mixer before it goes to the BbartokK. And then the drum section is being handled by the Metron, which is beneath all of that mess. But as you can see, it's relatively quick and easy to program your different voices. You'll notice that I didn't really mess with any of this. This is all set. One thing I didn't talk about was tuning, which I can do that now if you guys are interested in. Tuning is pretty simple with a black sequencer as well. One trick that I do is I create a pattern on the 16th button. So up here we were dealing with patterns. Originally we had 7 patterns, now we have 8. But I always make the 16th pattern, and I can switch to that one right now. Let me make sure. Yeah. And the 16th pattern, I have it repeating the same note. C0 in this case. And I have that across each channel. And what that allows me to do is, let's mute our drums. Let's actually mute everything but one voice. So I'll mute everything but one voice and I'll start playing that. And then I can tune that. You can either tune it by, if you have your phone, you can get a tuning app, which works really well. Just play the audio loud enough for the phone to pick it up, and it'll show you the note value. I also have the Zeroscope, the IntelliGel 1U Mult, or 1U module, and I can feed it a sine wave through there, and you'll want to use a sine wave. It's the other waves are harder for it to tell you what note it is. So even if you aren't going to use the sine wave, just feed the sine wave into that module, play the pattern to get the note. Then once that's tuned, you can either turn on the other channel, play that, or if you want to tune by ear, you can play both. You can play both together, but by just simply having that repeating note over and over, it makes it really easy to tune everything together. So that's it. So what I'm going to do is continue with programming some of these. The other difficult part is I only have room for 16 patterns on here. And if you're transcribing from music, you might find out that if the song is too long, you won't have enough space. So I actually found a section that I thought was redundant that I could take out. And I might have to do that again to reach the end here. Which is, it's a little unfortunate, but it's what I'll have to do to kind of make it all fit. But I got a lot to still go through and finish this and hopefully have something for tomorrow. And I'll stream it all tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in. And have a good night. I'll just play something obnoxious to play me out.